Let's go back to one of our top stories for today. And many observers say the exit of former economic freedom fighters second in command has exposed cracks in the organization. And the question is, will we see an end to the exodus and can the EFF recover from it? Let's bring in now Thabo Shole-Mashao, Independent Political Commentator, for more on this conversation. Thabo, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us here in studio this evening. I mean, one would say when it rains, it pours. And certainly this is what we're seeing this week, particularly with two more senior members in the EFF rather leaving that political party. And one would say, some people were saying that, is this the beginning of the end for the EFF? Your comment?
Or the end of the beginning, perhaps, because we are about to see much more. As MK grows, more and more people will be attracted to MK party, as opposed to the demise of the EFF, and largely because the ideological leanings of the EFF is very close to that of the MK party. So naturally, the graduation or the movement would then move towards MK party. But it doesn't help that it was the second in charge of the EFF who moved first. Therefore, his support, or if you will, the faction that was more favorable towards Floyd Shivambu, will then be magnetized or gravitate towards where he is currently. He will be making some calls, as he has been, to invite more individuals to come through. As a national organizer, he'd prefer to work with individuals that he's more exposed to, who are more also leaning towards his style of leadership. So he will magnetize a number of EFF supporters to come through into the EFF. It doesn't help, by the way, that the EFF is battling because of some of the key issues, including migration, which is one big element that many South Africans are currently grappling with. But secondly, as well, the leadership of Julius Malema that has been seen as dictatorial, autocratic, and overly imposing. And we have seen lack of self-reflection from him in the past few days, where he would have been expected to somehow be humble and also say, what can we do to make this a little bit better, and maybe recognize the error of his ways. None of that has come through. We've seen him saying that using the NPA upcoming Assembly, National People's Assembly, saying that he knows who the culprits are. They're going to be dealt with in December. So even if perhaps you wanted to stay in the EFF, those threatening remarks would shake you and you'd think, am I next? Because I could just be victimized for knowing Floyd, for perhaps calling him, or anyone else on the other side of the divide.
And certainly, Thabo, and speaking about those two former MPs of the EFF leaving this week, they have not really said, in terms of which political home they will be going to. I mean, the likes of Busisiwe Mkhwebane says that she's going to focus on her family, and Fana Mokoena are not really sharing much there when it comes to his next move. Do you think, like you're saying, that this is just Floyd Shivambu beginning to draw some of those very senior members from the EFF to the MK party?
And I'm sure many more will go, Mbali, because you know that far better than me that the husband of Advocate Mkhwebane is deep in the trenches of the MK party. Fana Mokoena, I don't know if you saw his social media postings where he says, no one is betraying you. People are leaving because they are choosing themselves. And he's also reflecting on the personality or the persona of Julius Malema directly in that. So these people are people who are keen and very much interested in the body politic of South Africa. They wouldn't want to be lost to it. Mkhwebane definitely doesn't want to. I think she was just being diplomatic in order to make it not so obvious. Fana Mokoena, clearly, it would be surprising if it doesn't go to MK party. But with them, they will draw many. But the test truly is on the EFF at this time. Can the center hold, especially ahead of an elective conference, which is going to shed more leadership positions? More individuals are going to feel victimized, more people are going to feel not wanted, and the losers of the conference will automatically want to find home elsewhere. Where's that particular home that we're speaking about? It's definitely the MK party, because in the ANC, the queue is way too long to the leadership echelons. GNU made it even more complicated. So naturally, it would be the MK party.
And looking at some of the reasons some of these political leaders from the EFF are leaving, they are mentioning things like toxicity, unhappiness, oppression in the party. And this particularly also draws to two more senior leaders in the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal. And those two senior leaders were also responsible for the election campaign of the EFF. Clearly here, it just says that Malema needs to go back to the drawing board.
He does need to, but also we must watch very carefully what Mpofu will do or say in the next few weeks. And of course, there have been speculations about Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, but we see that he's still standing strong and firm within the EFF. But a day in politics is almost like 10 years because a lot can happen within just 24 hours. But you're quite right. KZN, very stronghold. We remember Floyd Shivambu did a lot of work before he was moved to the Eastern Cape when he was still with the EFF at the time. So it also says to us, these movements are not new and sudden. They have been carefully planned by a great planner who is Jacob Zuma, former President Jacob Zuma. But the interesting thing about it all is that, Mbali, you'd remember the relationship between former President Jacob Zuma and Floyd Shivambu has never been smooth. And in 2011, at the 24th Congress of the ANC Youth League at Galaga Estate, the famous clip comes from there, where former President Jacob Zuma turns around as he was about to address on June 16, if my maths serves me right, as he was about to address the crowd, and he said, "Ukhuluma nami baba." He was referring to Floyd after Floyd had commented under his breath that he was involved in the Libya killings as the USA was invading Libya and Gaddafi died at that time. Not invading, but when Muammar Gaddafi was killed at the time. Floyd blamed President Jacob Zuma at that time, and he turned around at that very insidiously controversial conference of the Youth League. By the way, it was that conference that got rid of Malema. Lamola, got suspended. Floyd got suspended. But the loyalty of Floyd to stick with Malema during those tough times up until now, clearly it was something, it was a straw that broke the camel's back. And we are yet to find out what that is, hopefully from his biography.
We have run out of time. Can the EFF survive this exodus?
Certainly it can survive. It depends on how they move from here, how they mobilize themselves, what changes do they make. The leadership of Julius Malema, he wouldn't want to change it, but there are people who are attracted to that nonetheless. But how they redefine themselves, particularly after the National People's Assembly.
All right, Thabo, thank you so much for your time. That is Thabo Shole-Mashao giving us there his insights when it comes to what is taking place in the EFF and the number of resignations that we have seen from the party, from the likes of members of parliament as well as those members in KwaZulu-Natal.